I began singing at a very young age. My sister and I, my mother was Baptist, and my sister and I sang in a Baptist choir, but we were like 6 and 7 years old. It was a junior choir. And I think we had to appear about every 6 weeks, the junior choir would sing. Every 6th Sunday, I should say. But from that, it made us have a love for music. And my sister and I, as we got older, we started singing country music because that's all my father would listen to on the radio. But some of the people were Ernest Tubb. That's ancient. Let the people know how old I am, because I imagine they can't even remember him. Nobody, I don't think. And that's all I can say about that, because my father used to listen to the country music all the time. And out of Chicago came a show on the radio called Suppertime Frolic, and that was country. And then on Saturdays he would listen to the Grand Ole Opry that came out of Nashville. And that's what started him to playing the guitar. And that's the way it was back then. My family and I were very close, but my mother and father divorced when I was at a young age, about 6 years old. And back then, there was no arguing over the children like they do in court today. They split the children up. My father I stayed with, my sister stayed with my mother. And the reason I said I felt really loved because my mother and father fought over us. And so we had visitation rights. I could visit my sister one weekend and she can visit me the next weekend. One weekend I was visiting my sister, and I found myself on a train going south with my mother. She was kidnapping me. Today they call it kidnap, from my father. He heard about it. My cousins told us when he came over to pick me up that night. He found out I was gone. He called the police on her and he tried to get me back, but my mother wouldn't budge. She stayed in the South until he finally said, "Come on back with them and I won't bother you. I'll let you have her." And that's how much my parents cared about us. I met Joseph, I think I was around 17 years old. The teenage girls around my small little village of East Chicago, Indiana, that I lived in, we had a club called the Sub-Debs. And we used to give teenage parties for all the kids around there. And that's where I met Joe. He would always ask me for a dance when the music was slow. But the relationship, every time we go to a party, he was there. He would always do that. But I didn't start dating him at that time. It was about a year or two later that I started dating him. He seemed very kind, very sweet. Even the world now talks about how mean and evil he is. He's not that way. He's just a firm person. That's all it is. He didn't punish the children unless it was necessary. If one of the boys did something, he'd punish them. But he was firm with them. And the children around our neighborhood, especially the boys, they were kind of bad. Some of them, they would break in people's cars and do things. And our children were never allowed to go out at night or play with those kids. And that's why my children feel that he was too stern. But it helped later on in life with the children. And because if you don't raise your children now, the policemen they can't raise them, but they get in trouble. Well, having all my children when I was young and having them so close together, every time I would get pregnant, I was afraid to tell Joe that I was pregnant again. But Joe and I, we didn't believe in abortions. So that's why we got so many children. Yes. But my children, every time I'd have a new baby, they'd be so happy because they love babies. I'm glad they did. But they helped me a lot, especially Rebbie. She was a big sister. And it was one time in my life when I had a space between having the children. I had to take a job to help out. And so Rebbie was there to help out, to babysit, and she tried to cook and do a lot of things around the house there. Well, music has always been into my life, and Joseph's family was a musical family, and my family was also. And Joseph's mother and her sisters, they have piano, play the harmonica, especially Joseph's mother. She played the harmonica very well. And when Joe and I married, we used to sing together all the time. And I guess singing has always been there. Music has always been there. And Joseph was in a group, too, also, him and his brother. Rebbie and Jackie were my oldest two, and they would be there listening to them and dancing and doing a lot of things. Even Rebbie and Jackie have won some contests when they were like 4 and 5 years old dancing. So it's always been there. Music have always been in our home. And we sang country songs and we sang folk songs. And then they started singing the Temptations. When we got a television, they would see the Temptation. And then we had our, I think they called, well, they weren't like they were today. They were disc, you know. And where you buy the Temptations and the rest of them songs, and the kids learned from that. And they started singing songs together in the bedroom. Quite nice, especially in the winter when you couldn't go out. When Tito first got Joe's guitar out of the closet to play, Joseph had warned him, "Don't play my guitar now." And so Tito took it out and played it, and the string broke. There was no way of hiding that he hadn't had his guitar. So Joseph took him and he set him down, and he punished him for it. Then he said, "Let me hear you play," after he had fixed the guitar. And Tito played for him. Joseph said nothing else to him. "You can play it if you want to," because Tito played it better than Joe. And Joseph was wondering, how did he learn it? We had a rickety washing machine. We weren't able to buy a new one, so this one, it's the old roller type washing machine. Many people don't even know what I'm talking about. But whenever it washed, it would creak, make noises, and something like that. And Michael was, I guess he was about 11 or 12 months old. He was walking, and he was in the kitchen when I'm washing, and he would be dancing to the rhythm of the washing machine. And I knew then that he had a lot of rhythm. But later, when the boys were singing, he would be the one that would do the steps for me, and help out with a lot of the things. And he was really young. And one day they were singing, and Michael was way over in the corner. He was about 4, I imagine. And he just joined in perfect harmony. And I thought, my God, what kid learned all of this? And there's another story that I can tell, that the school was giving a program, and the parents were invited, and Michael was singing solo, "Climb Every Mountain." And so Joe's father wanted to go also so he could hear him. And Michael started singing. I looked around, Joe's father was crying. I guess he couldn't imagine a 5-year-old kid can keep harmony and sing that well. But that's what happened. I have been listening to Michael in the bedroom singing, just himself, singing alone and singing solo. And I mentioned to Joseph, I said, "You know what, you should listen to Michael, because he has a pretty nice voice for lead. And that can help Jermaine a lot and keep him from learning all those songs that, he had to learn all the lead singing." And Joe didn't believe me. And so he just said, oh no, let Jermaine sing him. I don't think he can do it. By Michael being so young, he didn't think that. But after, and I told him, listen to him, and one day they were rehearsing, and he decided to listen to Michael. And that's what made him to make Michael learn some of the songs. And after they were going out singing, people started responding to Michael. And Michael would sing, and he would go out in the audience, and whatever the song was about, like one of the songs he used to sing was called Skinny Legs and All, you know, and who want the woman with the skinny legs? And he'd grab somebody, we'd look around at his legs because he was just a little kid. And people thought it was so cute how he would do it. And then he'd go grab a lady out, who want the woman with the skinny legs? And then he just made that part of his show. Well, I wondered myself how Michael sang those songs with so much feeling, as if he had lived the part. I really don't understand, and I don't think I will know how Michael sang those songs with such a feeling at a young age like he did. But I think a lot of other people wondered too. So he was an affectionate person. And Michael is about love, and he loved people. And I think that's what had a lot to do with it, even at a young age. Because when they were young, they grew up, you know, together, like Jermaine and Tito. They grew up together. They were very close together in age. Whenever Marlon would get sick, Michael would feel his pain in a way, and he would cry because he felt so bad for him. And that's the way he was. Michael and Marlon they were a little devilish when they were younger, and especially when they started traveling with their securities and all of that. And Bill Bray was one they used to play tricks on all the time. I remember that Michael was telling me about they tied his shoelaces together, you know, both feet. Tied his shoelaces together. Then they go off, and while he was napping, Bill would always nap. And then they go over in the corner and take something real hard and slap it together, make a big noise, and Bill would jump up, and his shoes was tied. You know what happened. That was very dangerous, though. David and Michael used to play a lot of jokes on LaToya. And LaToya always loved satin sheets and things like that, and she never wanted anybody in her room because she's such a germ freak. She don't want you walking on her carpet because she had everything white satin on the beds and things. And Michael would just stand at the door and take a running leap and jump in the middle of her bed just to hear her scream and yell. And yes, Michael and I had a very special bond because Michael used to always tell me that he was so much like me. And then I used to tell him, I said, I can see myself in you, but I don't want you to be like me, because I thought I was too easygoing, trust people too much, and that's exactly how Michael is. And that's all I can say about that. He'd have to tell you the rest, and he's not to say, but he used to always tell me. One stage in Michael's life, he did have acne, very bad, and so bad that he sort of became an introvert. And I tried to help him, and we took him to dermatologists and things to get rid of his acne. That did bring us closer together, but we were already close. So I was just there for him because most of the children had left home, got married, and had moved on, and Michael was the only one here, besides Randy, who was still younger, very young, you know. And that made us closer also, because he didn't have his brothers to talk to or anything. So we all bonded, Michael, myself, and LaToya and all, which not saying that we weren't already like that, but it made us closer. When the boys were leaving for Motown, and they called and said that they had signed with Motown, all of us that were left at home jumped for joy. Going to California, the happiest day of my life, because all my life I had dreamed about living in California. And so that was my trip there. But Joseph had come from California to Indiana. And when we were dating, he had promised me that one day we would go to California. And I tell him now, I said, your promise came true, but you didn't bring me there, the children did. When I first came out to California, which was my dream, we arrived here at night. And the next morning I woke up very early, and the birds were singing. There were flowers. The trees were, and some of them in bloom, some of them still green. And when I left Indiana, it was October, I think late October, early November, and it was cold. And all the leaves had fallen off the trees, no beauty at all, just snow and brown trees. And so this was, to me, it was like paradise. When I first heard I Want You Back, I didn't like it at all, because the songs that the children sang was more like the, I should say, soul music. To me, Want You Back didn't sound that way. And it didn't have the beat or anything like the other songs, and all the songs that was out then sound so different. So I guess Barry wanted to bring out a different style, and he did, but I really didn't like it. When my boys had 5 gold records in a row, I was very proud of them, because I know it was something that they wanted, and even that was their dream. And they were happy, and I was happy. The whole family was happy about that. ABC was okay. I know, I couldn't tell you who it was written by, because I know the way Mr. Gordy did things. He would pick out about 3 writers and tell them to write me a song about ABC, or write me a song about this or that, and he'd pick out the best one. And so ABC was the best one of those, which all were going to be called ABC. And I didn't think too much of it, because Michael was very young at the time, like 11 years old, so it was a kiddie song, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was a song for the young kids. When I first heard I'll Be There, I thought it was a very nice song. Came to be one of my favorites. It had a lot of feeling and a lot of meaning, and that's why I liked it more than I did the other songs. When Stop the Love You Say first came out, I liked it a lot. It was another song that could be for any age, and it was not so kiddified. And that's one of the reasons why I liked it. And then I liked it because of the beat and all of the other stuff that went with it.